Welcome back, boys. Here we're looking at some frigates in faction warfare space. This will be the last focused frigates video that we have. There will be frigates in other videos, but this one is mainly purely just for people to get into frigates, see what I've been flying, what I have success with, what I don't. This I had minor success with. It's a point web and prop afterburner, tracking disruptor, and newt and AAR. Key with this one, essentially abuse whatever weapon system you're going against. So we're going against lasers, so we're getting in really tight and putting the tracking disruptor on and abusing their tracking while keeping ours, since it's autocannons and they track fairly good. You can see there are a lot of glancing, but for the most part doing okay. So same thing with this one, you got the Tormentor. Get in close, orbit as tight as you can without your guns falling off. I'm using 200s on here, which I find when you get too close you start grazing and missing a lot. But they still usually track a little bit better than the beams, especially with the disruptor on them. So same thing, get close, orbit around them, and then your AAR try and keep just for the drone damage that you'll receive, but try and stay out of their optimal or take any damage from their lasers, and you should be good to go. And watch out for tormentors that use like autocannons and blasters that may be able to out-track you and put a lot more damage than you're expecting in on them. This fight in itself was pretty interesting, getting into a fight with a slicer as a slasher. Same thing as the tormentors. Get under his guns, put the tracking disruptor on. He'll have tons of trouble trying to get DPS on you, but watch out, a lot of these guys do fit kite fits now with beam lasers. They're quite quick, so they'll pull range quick on you, and they hit incredibly hard. They'll destroy the ship, because that's the one problem with this slasher, is that it is very weakly tanked. There's not a lot of HP to play around with, like most frigates, but I find even more you're kind of using your small size and utility E-war weapons on it to kind of guide as your tank. The AR is just a buffer for drone damage or classic hits, but for the most part, same thing. As you can see, just get in tight, orbit as much as you can, and try and save yourself the DPS. This fight here was all luck at this point. I was near the end of the day, hadn't had many kills. I canceled the target on him by accident, as you can see, and hoping he's autocannon, but of course he is artillery dual webbed, so he'll just hold me right at his optimal and do heavy damage towards me. So I just follow him around, try and see if he can slip up and get the web on him, and all I need to do is get somewhat of an orbit on him and negate some of that DPS he has. But pretty much in this situation, your Toasty has full range control, and his damage is exactly like the Merlin's, your dual web. You hold anything that's single web right where you want them, and that's kind of it. And even with the speed that the slasher has, it's just not enough with dual web. You gotta get lucky, like this fight here, where in fact he gets too close, and what happens is I talked to the guy later, and he said he burnt out his prop. So fortunately for me, he wasn't able to continue going, and even with a dual web, as long as I have a prop going, I'm faster than him. So as you can see, I get the orbit on him, apply damage, and hang on for dear life. I forgot to do set auto reload to my AAR off, which is a terrible mistake, because I could be repping right now, even a little bit, just in case he gets the odd glancing hit. But I set it to auto reload, so now it's offline for the remainder of the fight, unfortunately. But it did swing to my way. Similar fight with this one being a breacher. Instead of the dual prop, dual tank, this is just a single prop, dual tank, so swap out a micro warp drive for a web. I had a couple lying around, so I thought I'd use them up. Again, at the end of the roam, no targets, so I saw this guy earlier, and still in the same system as I come through, so decided to fight him, hoping he's arty, but he's not, and the same thing happens, but fortunately, again, he burns his prop out, and allows me to take the win. So always a good time when that happens, but technically should have easily lost this fight. Alright, so we got the Comet going on. Easily one of my favorite ships. You can dual prop it, you can blaster fit it, rail fit it. It's a very ambidextrous ship. Very good to be able to fly. I recommend anybody who's looking to up their game from Tech 1 to Faction or Tech 2. This ship, you can't go wrong. They're fairly cheap, in and around 30 to 40 million, and the bang for your buck is huge. As you can see, this one I'm actually in a little bit of trouble because I find a dual web. Merlin, who's blaster fit, not rail fit, thankfully, so I'm able to switch back to Javelin and put DPS on him again, and his resists just aren't as good as mine. At least for the hull, I have a huge buffer, so he doesn't, so easily killed once I got that out of the way. So I found myself a good matchup here. Rail fit Comet, exactly the same as myself. You will find a lot of Comets, I find, in low sec in the Plexus, just because it is such a good ship that and fairly low requirements to get into. It's not hard to get into one of these. It's still technically a Tech 1 frigate, even though it's faction, but it's leaps and bounds ahead of most things when it comes to Tech 1 faction and some Tech 2, and it's quite cheap. It's 30 to 40 million depending on how you're fitting it, so you can't go wrong. It's just an all-around really good ship, and as you can see with this one, we're just trading blows at this point, and he runs out of pace first. This itself was a fairly odd fight. I don't know exactly what was going on. I actually contacted these guys to see what the heck happened, but they wouldn't respond to me. So I fly into this Plex, and I see two firetails, both of them burning off, and I assume they're just plexing it, just AFK, like you'll find a lot. And so I burn out to them, and one peels back, burns out to me, and we get into a fight. And he ends up being autocannon, which is perfect for me. Same kind of thing as the Merlin strategy, just pull him out to range and doing all the damage in the world, and as you can see, he's not even scratching my shields. And he goes down quite easily. And then as we were fighting, I did notice, if you looked at the overview, the other one started burning in. So I'm thinking right away, he's either got a fleet in and he's going to try and hero tackle me, or whatever the case is, but like I said, I don't have an answer for you. He just burned at me. I noticed it and decided instead of warping off, and I had suffered 0 damage. The heat is good on all the modules, so I think we'll be okay. Pick another fight, assuming he's autocannon, just like his friend. Engage a fight, and sure enough, the same thing. However, this one was more of a fight. He put a lot more damage on me, and had to be tanking in on top of it, but all in all, very odd fight. They both ended up taking it, so good fight to those guys for taking it, even though they probably should never release the second one after watching the first one. And the last fight, found a Kestrel sitting on a gate. Decided to pick a fight with him. Once I have him tackled, I realize the gate is my true nemesis as I bounce all over the place and run right into the gate. But I have been noticing at the time of this video, which is a good couple months old now, these guys are quite baity, where they'll sit there. They're kind of like, everybody knows a Punisher is bait. I started to notice that Kestrels were kind of the same. If you tackled one, there's something on the way, or 40 of them to come blow you up. So, but I'm fighting him. I think I'm in the clear, as you can see on D-scan. Keep an eye on that, and here he comes. So now I'm in my structure. I'm tanking, so I'm running out of paste. So what I try and do is stick around for the kill. The kill is most important, and then you know, once I stop targeting the gate, then deal with this guy. So I'm planning my escape already. So I start aligning to the sun, trying to think of getting out of there. What a lot of people forget when they're trying to run is you still want to put your EWAR, your webs, your scrams, whatever, even DPS, unless like you're gonna run out of cap. But as you can see with this, if you go for it, keep the web on him, he's gonna keep his range, you keep your range, and then you're free. I got more videos on the way. All the hardware problems I was having are gone, so I'll be putting more up more regularly. Thanks, guys.